New Geneva was peaceful that morning. The white towers of the city touched the blue sky, and the streets below were full of people enjoying a calm, sunny day. Hovercars moved silently above the roads. Children laughed in the parks. Life felt safe and easy, just like it had for years. Dr. James Carter sat by the window of his small office at the United Earth Council building. He sipped his coffee and reviewed a speech he was supposed to give next week about peaceful communication between worlds. James was a diplomat, an expert in languages and negotiation. His job was normally quiet. Earth hadn't faced a real threat in decades. Then everything changed. Without warning, the sky darkened. A deep, rumbling sound shook the ground. People looked up. Floating above the clouds were massive ships, dark, sharp, and silent. They covered the sun like giant metal monsters. The first ship was the size of a small country. It was shaped like a spearhead, and it hung there, heavy and still. Then more ships appeared, hundreds of them. They formed a wall across the sky. The world seemed to hold its breath. Phones buzzed. Screens in the streets flashed emergency messages. All citizens remained calm, shelter in place. Government response underway. James stood up, heart pounding. He didn't waste a second. Grabbing his coat, he rushed down the hall toward the council's emergency command center. As he ran, officials and aides hurried past him, their faces pale with fear. In the main conference room, the council members were already gathered, speaking in low, urgent voices. Large screens showed images from around the world. Every city had the same view, alien ships everywhere. James pushed through the doors. The room went quiet. Dr. Carter, President Marla Singh said, motioning him to join the group. "We need you." James nodded once. "I'm here." The president pointed to a screen. A message was broadcasting from the lead alien ship. The words scrolled in dozens of languages. "People of Earth, this planet is now under the authority of the Zorvian Empire. You will surrender immediately, or be destroyed." The council stared in silence. No one spoke. No one knew what to say. James felt a chill run down his spine. This wasn't a warning. It was a direct order. Surrender or die. The council started arguing. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to surrender to save lives. James stayed quiet, thinking. He looked back at the image of the alien ships, cold and unmoving in the sky. He could feel the weight of the moment. Earth's future hung in the balance. One thing was clear. Earth had never faced an enemy like this before, and somehow James knew it would take more than weapons to survive. The Zorvian message played over and over on every screen across the planet. Surrender or be destroyed. In New Geneva, the United Earth Council sat frozen. Their faces were pale, their eyes wide. This wasn't just a threat. It was a promise. If Earth didn't answer, there would be war. And Earth had no fleet big enough to fight those ships. President Marla Singh stood up slowly. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook slightly. "We must prepare to respond," she said. "But first we need to understand them." She turned to Dr. James Carter. "James, you're our expert. What do you make of this?" James studied the alien message again. The language was blunt. There was no room for negotiation, no offer for discussion. It was pure domination. "They expect us to be afraid," James said. "They're used to weaker civilizations. They're not asking. They're commanding." The council members nodded grimly. Fear hung in the air like smoke. Outside the building, the city grew restless. People filled the streets, looking up at the dark shapes in the sky. News screens showed images of London, Beijing, New York, all with the same giant ships overhead. At first, fear ruled. People packed stores, fled to shelters, held their children close. But something strange happened. Within a few hours, the mood shifted. On the internet, jokes started to spread. Someone posted a picture of a Zorvian ship with a sign that said, "Parking violation. Fine $1,000. Another showed a meme, "Aliens surrender. Humans lol." No, laughter bubbled up where fear had been. Memes, videos, jokes, millions of them flew across the world like sparks. James sat back and smiled for the first time that day. "We're laughing," he said out loud. The council looked at him, confused. "Humans," James said. "We turned fear into humor. It's our way of surviving. The president frowned. But the Zorvians won't understand that. They'll see it as disrespect. Exactly, James said, leaning forward. They expect fear. But we're giving them something they don't understand. That could be our advantage. The council began to murmur. Hope, small but growing, flickered in the room. President Singh crossed her arms. What are you suggesting, Dr. Carter? James thought for a moment, choosing his words carefully. We can't fight them with weapons. But we can fight them with something they don't have: humor, stubbornness, and unpredictability. The council looked at each other. No one spoke for a long moment. Then President Singh nodded. All right, James, you'll lead our response. Find a way to turn this madness into our shield. James felt the weight settle on his shoulders. He nodded firmly. I'll do my best. As he left the room to begin his work, the sky outside still burned with the light of alien ships. But now, below that shadow, Earth was smiling. Dr. James Carter sat alone in a quiet room, deep inside the United Earth Council building. A single screen glowed in front of him, showing the Zorvian message again: surrender or be destroyed. He leaned back in his chair, thinking hard. The Zorvians were powerful. Their ships were larger and more advanced than anything Earth had. Fighting them would be foolish. Surrendering would mean slavery. There had to be another way. James opened his notebook and wrote one word at the top of the page. He remembered how humans had always used laughter to survive hard times. Wars, disasters, even personal loss. Humor was more than a joke. It was a shield. The aliens wouldn't understand it. They would see laughter as madness or danger. And that was the key. If the Zorvians thought Earth was too unpredictable, too unstable, they might back off. James smiled slightly. It was a risky plan, but it was the best chance they had. He began to draft Earth's official response. It had to sound formal, almost serious, but filled with hidden jokes and clever tricks. It had to confuse the Zorvians without making them angry enough to attack immediately. His message started like this: to the honorable command of the Zorvian Empire, we humbly thank you for your generous offer of surrender. However, we find ourselves unable to comply at this time, as we are currently busy reorganizing our sock drawers and debating the correct way to make a sandwich. James chuckled as he wrote. It was ridiculous but dressed in polite, formal words. He continued, adding sentences that praised the Zorvians' bold color choices for their ships and offered Earth's finest cat videos as a token of friendship. The entire letter looked like a serious diplomatic reply, unless you read between the lines. James finished the message and read it out loud. It sounded respectful, but every sentence was full of hidden laughter. He sent the draft to President Singh and the council. Within minutes they called him back to the conference room. The council members were shaking their heads, some smiling, some unsure. President Singh looked at James with a mixture of fear and hope. This is bold, she said. James nodded. It's the only language they won't understand. Confuse them. Make them think we're dangerous in a way they can't fight. The president sighed. All right, let's send it. A transmission officer prepared the message. It was sent through all communication channels, directly to the Zorvian fleet. Now, all they could do was wait. James sat down by the big windows, staring up at the ships. The world outside was tense but strangely alive. People kept joking, posting memes, sending funny videos, refusing to be afraid. James felt a strange sense of pride. Maybe, just maybe, laughter would save them. Above the Earth, the Zorvian fleet remained still, silent, but not for long. The Zorvian fleet hovered silently above Earth, as if frozen in the sky. Inside the lead ship, Commander Vroth paced back and forth across the command deck. His dark gray skin tightened with anger. His officers stood stiffly, waiting for his orders. On a large screen in front of them was the message Earth had sent. First read it again, his 4 eyes narrowing. We humbly thank you for your generous offer of surrender. However, we find ourselves unable to comply at this time, as we are currently busy reorganizing our sock drawers and debating the correct way to make a sandwich. He didn't understand. Was this some kind of strange human ritual? Was it a hidden insult? Or had Earth truly gone mad? First slammed his fist onto the metal table, making a deep clang that echoed through the ship. How dare they mock the Zorvian Empire? He roared. His officers said nothing. They had never seen a world react this way before. In every past conquest, civilizations either begged for mercy or tried, and failed, to fight back. But Earth was laughing. Meanwhile, down below, humans continued to flood the networks with jokes. Someone made a cartoon of a Zorvian commander wearing a pink tutu. Another made a fake ad offering used alien ships for rent. Even world leaders joined the fun. The president of Brazil posted a video pretending to surrender by offering Earth's largest collection of rubber ducks. James Carter watched all of this from the council room. He knew that every joke, every laugh made Earth stronger. But he also knew the aliens wouldn't stay confused forever. Hours passed. Then another message came from the Zorvian flagship. This time it was angrier, louder. People of Earth, this is your final warning. Surrender or be obliterated. The council members looked at James. What do we do now? Asked one of them, voice tense. James stood up calmly. We keep going. We keep laughing. He drafted a second response, just as playful but slightly more serious. Dear Honorable Zorvian Command, we sincerely apologize for our delay. Our planet's official surrender committee is currently out fishing. Please leave a message after the beep. He smiled as he sent it. High above, Commander Vrth roared again in frustration. These creatures are insane, he shouted. His advisors whispered among themselves. Some warned that attacking Earth might be dangerous. If humans acted this strangely under pressure, what else might they do if attacked? First pride told him to destroy Earth immediately. But something in his gut warned him to be careful. Earth was not behaving like any other world they had conquered. And unpredictable enemies were the most dangerous of all. On Earth, the laughter grew louder. The people of Earth had made their choice. They would not kneel. They would not cry. They would laugh, even at the face of destruction. The United Earth Council chamber was quiet. All eyes were on Dr. James Carter as he stood before the main screen. A communication request had come in. Not just a message, but a live call from Commander Vrth himself. This is it, James said calmly. He straightened his jacket and walked to the center of the room. The council gave him small nods of encouragement, though fear hung in the air. The screen blinked once, then flickered on. Commander Vrth appeared, towering and fierce. His gray skin looked like stone, and his sharp eyes burned with anger. Behind him, rows of alien officers stood still like statues. James gave a small, respectful nod. Greetings, Commander Vrth, he said, his voice steady. Vrth growled low. You mock the Zorvian Empire. You insult us with your jokes. This is your final chance. Surrender, or we will rain fire upon your cities. James smiled politely. Commander, we appreciate your visit to our small planet. It's just that we humans have a unique way of doing things. Vrth leaned closer to the camera. You are fools. You laugh in the face of death. James shrugged slightly. We do. It's how we survive. Laughter makes us strong. It keeps us free. Vrth's face twisted in confusion and anger. You think jokes will protect you from destruction? James tilted his head thoughtfully. Well, Commander, you see, attacking Earth would be complicated. We're unpredictable. We don't follow normal rules. One minute we're laughing, the next, we're building weapons out of kitchen appliances. You never know with humans. There was a long silence. James pressed forward, his voice calm but firm. Conquering Earth might seem easy, but it won't be. You'll lose ships, resources, time, and worst of all, you'll be mocked across the galaxy by the only race that beat you, by laughing. The Zorvian officers behind Vrth whispered nervously. Vrth stared hard at James. He wanted to crush Earth. He wanted to wipe the smirk off the human's face. But a small dangerous doubt crept into his mind. What if the humans really were unstable? What if attacking them brought chaos worse than any war? James watched Vroth carefully. He saw the crack in the commander's pride. He pressed one last time. "We are not afraid, Commander. Not of you, not of any empire. You can destroy our cities, but you'll never break our spirit. We would rather laugh in the ruins than live as slaves." The room went silent. Finally, Commander Vroth pulled back. His face hardened. "You are dangerous creatures," he said slowly. "Too dangerous." The screen went black. James let out a breath he didn't know he had been holding. The council erupted into cheers. James allowed himself a small tired smile. One step closer. But would the Zorvians really leave, or were they just preparing something worse? Only time would tell. The world waited. Hours passed after the live call with Commander Vroth. Every screen on Earth showed the same image, the alien ship still hanging in the sky, unmoving, silent. People held their breath. Some stayed inside, clutching their loved ones. Others gathered in public squares, staring upward. The internet, once buzzing with jokes, grew quiet. Even laughter needed a moment to rest. In the United Earth Council room, James Carter stood by the window, hands in his pockets. His heart beat steadily. He had said all he could. Now, it was up to the aliens to decide. A soft beep broke the silence. A new message had arrived from the Zorvian fleet. President Singh opened it. Her eyes widened slightly. She read it aloud. "The Zorvian Empire finds Earth unsuitable for conquest at this time. We withdraw our forces. No further communication will be made." The room exploded into noise. Cheers, shouts, laughter. James closed his eyes for a moment, feeling the tension lift from his shoulders like a heavy coat. On the streets, people screamed with joy. Fireworks exploded over New Geneva. In every city, music played. People danced in the parks, on rooftops, in the middle of the roads. Earth had won, without firing a single shot. James stepped outside. He looked up at the sky as the great Zorvian ships slowly began to move, pulling away from Earth. They drifted higher and higher until they were nothing but tiny silver dots, then vanished completely. Above him, the stars shone once again, clear and bright. The media quickly named the event the Great Alien Retreat. Memes flooded the internet again. Pictures showed humans waving goodbye with banners that read, "Better luck next time. Earth too weird to conquer." James smiled. Earth had saved itself not with violence, but with spirit, cleverness, and unity. It was something no alien commander, no empire could ever predict. In the council chamber, President Singh made a short announcement. "Today we prove that courage is not always shown with weapons. Sometimes it is shown with laughter." James watched the celebrations stretch across the world. He knew it wasn't just a victory. It was a new chapter for humanity. A reminder that strength comes from inside, from how we face fear and how we stay true to who we are. The next morning, New Geneva was filled with light. The city streets were alive with music, dancing, and the sound of laughter. Across the world, people celebrated not just survival, but victory. Dr. James Carter stood on the balcony of the United Earth Council building. He sipped a cup of hot tea, watching the people below. Balloons floated into the sky. Children wore costumes of aliens with silly hats. Everywhere, smiles stretched wide. James leaned on the railing, feeling the fresh air on his face. He had never been prouder to be human. The news played quietly on a screen behind him. "Zorvian fleet has left Earth's orbit completely," said the reporter. "Experts believe they will never attempt to return." James smiled. It wasn't just about the aliens leaving. It was about how humanity had faced the impossible and stayed true to itself. Fear could have torn the world apart. Instead, laughter had brought it together. President Singh joined him on the balcony. "You did well, James," she said. "You showed us a different kind of strength." James shrugged. "It wasn't just me, it was all of us. Every joke, every laugh, every moment we chose hope over fear." The president nodded thoughtfully. Maybe the galaxy will hear of us now, she said, smiling. Not as a planet of warriors, but a planet of dreamers, of fighters with joy in their hearts. James chuckled. I'm fine with that. Later that day, a giant festival was held in the city center. Leaders from around the world gave speeches. Artists performed songs and plays about the great alien retreat. A huge banner floated over the crowd. Earth proud, free and fearless. James walked through the crowd, shaking hands, laughing with strangers. Everywhere he looked, he saw unity. No country lines, no divisions. Just people, human beings, together as one. At night, fireworks filled the sky. Red, blue, gold. They burst high above, where once alien ships had floated. James sat on a grassy hill, watching the colors dance above him. Someone handed him a small flag. It simply said, "We laughed, and we won." He held it quietly, feeling the cool breeze on his face. In the end, Earth had taught the universe a lesson. Real strength isn't about power or fear. It's about spirit, creativity, and the unbreakable will to stay human, no matter what. James leaned back on the grass, looking at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Zorvians were still trying to understand what had happened. And Earth, small, strange, beautiful Earth, had just made history.